Listen, you know the girl done got some rest because she is singing on Periscope, but I just wanted to say that tomorrow is October the 1st. October has 31 days. October is a month that's set aside for the celebration, memoriam, and legacy of those who suffer, who we've lost, and who we still support and fight for in the name of breast cancer and domestic violence. I was trying to share the domestic violence piece with several of my groups on social media, and I wanted to share it here on Periscope. And I think that it's important that we understand that it's not all the time that women's issues and women's concerns are highlighted in any form of media at all, except for when we twerking, except for when we stripping, we fighting each other, we messing with people, men, we're being messy. But October is going to be a month that we're going to utilize to learn a little bit more about some of the issues that are particular to us. Of course, breast cancer can affect both men and women, but particularly this month is a month that we set aside to recognize the struggles that women have with regard to breast cancer, the effects that breast cancer has on not just the woman, but the families and relatives and lives behind the woman, because it does not immediately and only affect that woman. And symbolically, we wear pink in representation of our support of those whose fight is still ongoing and those who've lost their fight or succumbed to the fight of breast cancer. Along with Breast Cancer Month being in October, so is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I had this back and forth with this girl in this group. I don't know why she wanted to fight with me and tell me that October is not Domestic Violence Awareness Month when it is. It is a month that too is set aside for the particular issues of awareness with regard to domestic violence. Now, again, domestic violence does not solely affect women, but in particular, when you speak of domestic violence, an overwhelming majority of women suffer at the hands of men. And actually, the statistics is getting worse because it's not just women in the traditional married or committed relationships. Some of these domestic events are starting excuse me, started to trickle down into some of our younger groups of people, even in the high schools, even some pre-college age persons are becoming victims of domestic violence. And this is not something that is just seen with the naked eye. And I hope to help you understand that on tomorrow's show, on my show, The Empress Speaks on blogtalkradio.com. You can get that information from actually on Facebook. I am The Empress Cooper on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter, The Empress Speaks or The Empress Says. There's just so many The Empresses, but if you look it up, that's DAEMPORESS. You'll find me somewhere between Instagram, Twitter, here on Periscope, and also on YouTube. The thing about it is this: when you don't address the issue of domestic violence, you almost co-sign domestic violence being perpetuated some way, shape, or form. Just because you're not a woman does not mean that you cannot be affected by domestic violence. Domestic violence does not isolate just to the victim herself or himself. It permeates through families. It actually becomes generational. And when it's not addressed properly, then we end up repeating the cycle. And some people think the only way to be a victim of domestic violence is to be wearing bruises or broken limbs or going to the police all the time. 90% of domestic violence events and happenings go unreported. Most women die trying to leave the domestic violence event. And this is just the truth. A lot of people act as if they don't see it until it's too late. Just recently, in my own hometown, a domestically violently known family has buried a second daughter due to domestic violence. And it doesn't just come from out of nowhere. There are always signs, and there are always issues, and there are always things that people outside of the immediate reality of domestic violence that just goes unchecked. I and myself am a survivor of domestic violence, and I'm not trying to advocate or highlight that there is anyone's fault, but this is just like any other disease happening. It just can claim your life just like any other disease happening. So it's a real event. So tomorrow, we're asking on social media, particularly on Facebook and Twitter, also on Instagram, if you have the time and if you have purple or pink lipstick in representation of the October Domestic Violence and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we're just trying to support those who have still the struggle with these issues and who also are in hopes of being supported by those of us who know that this is a reality. This is not something that you can no longer not address and not look at. When you ignore it, you may as well understand that you're helping to bury it. I don't count it light that I'm a survivor. I don't count it light that I don't wear war scars. I don't count it anything short of a blessing to have survived the things that I have. And I know that there are women who don't. I also know that there are women who do on a daily basis put themselves in the line of fire. Not because they want to be, but because they feel like there's no other option. So we're going to try to explore some of those happenings. Tomorrow I'm going to talk with a special friend of mine named Sean Bayonne, who is an advocate for the protection of women who are victims of domestic violence. And he's going to talk to us about it from a male point of view. And I think that's very interesting because a lot of people think, oh, this is a girl's thing. This is something happening to girls. No, this is happening to everyone. This is not to say that men cannot be victims of domestic violence themselves, which there are, but very few of them will admit to that, and a lot of men have actually succumbed to that. All you got to do is turn on the TV and watch Snap. Whole show dedicated to manipulative women who have used their wiles as women to manipulate men, sometimes in the excess of taking their lives from them. Same thing happens with women. It just it's a cycle that cannot be excused. We see it in every realm of life. We are hoping to talk about that. Professionals, politicians, preachers. This is not a one-stop shop type of deal when it comes to the uh, misappropriation of anger and control. It can happen with anybody at any time. So we're going to talk about it with Sean on tomorrow. That is on Blog Talk Radio, www.blogtalkradio.com. The phone number is 646-478-5625. It will start at 8 Central Standard Time, 9 Eastern. And we're hoping to have a little bit over an hour show because I think this is an important start to the month of October. October is a month that's especially important to me. Any women's issues of importance, of course, covers all the months of the year, but particularly this month. So I want to welcome you to that. And if you're interested, wear your lipstick tomorrow. Post a picture on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and tag me to it because I want to make a collage of all the support that we're giving to women who need our support. And we don't just need it from the women, we need it from the men as well, okay? So I will see you then.